Hello there, thank you for joining me. For those that don't know me, my name is Sandy and I am a professional English teacher that teaches intermediate to advanced English. I have specialized in the last few years to teach students preparation for the basic language assessment tests like Ielts and TOEFL. Working with students from many different countries in the world has given me a lot of experience, and I've got a lot of feedback from students. One of the most common complaints is that they don't really know the best way to practice their IELTS learning. Yes, they can do all these lessons, etc., but a lot of people get caught up on these YouTube courses and long, prolonged learning that's really just wasting their time and money. And a lot of my students actually suggested, why don't you make the videos the same as you teach us? Because a lot of people would benefit from them. And I'm excited to say that that's what I'm now doing. So this is the first of a series of integrated practice videos that cover the various aspects of reading, listening, and speaking. Very important aspects. And the way I'm doing this is I'm going to work with basic listening tests. And today's video, you will see what I mean. The first part of the video is part of a listening test, just the very beginning of it, because we're going to work on it. Part of a listening test with the transcript. And what I suggest you do to really get to grips with it is to first listen to it, then rewind it and try reading the transcript along at the same time as the person is speaking as the persons, because there's two of them, are speaking on the audio. This is excellent practice. It's even better if you can record yourself and you're speaking out loud so you can compare your pronunciation and your vocabulary, etc., to what you're hearing during the test. It's the audio itself. So that's the first part. That's giving you a lot of work to do, and it's working with the same material. And then what we're going to do, just for a bit of fun, the second part of the video is to do the beginning. It's a small part of an IELTS listening test. And this is going to be like questions 1 to 5 in part 1 of the listening test. It should be no problem for the majority of the students, but I do give some very valuable advice on how to approach the whole listening test in this video. So it's worth watching it to the end. And then as we progress in future videos, they're going to be coming out very, very regularly, hopefully every 2 to 3 days. And we're going to progress up the listening test till we get to the more difficult aspects, and all the time using the text and the transcripts and the advice on how to approach these. These are absolutely vital aspects that students need to get to not only learn to produce to get your vocabulary and your grammar and your pronunciation and your fluency all up to very, very high levels, but also, number one, to get your confidence up there too. So that's what I've got to say. Let's see how it goes. Let's get down to it.
Hello, this is land transport information at Toronto Airport. How may I help you?
Oh, good morning. I'm flying to Toronto Airport next week, and I need to get to a town called Milton. Could you tell me how I can get there?
Milton, did you say? Let me see. I think that's about 150 miles southwest of here. In fact, it's 147 miles to be exact. So it'll take you at least, say, 3 to 4 hours by road.
Wow, is it as far as that?
Yes, I'm afraid so. But you have a number of options to get you there, and you can always rent a car right here at the airport, of course.
Right. Well, I don't really want to drive myself, so I'd like more information about public transport.
Okay. In that case, the quickest and most comfortable is a cab, and of course there are always plenty available, but it'll cost you. You can also take a Greyhound bus, or there's an airport shuttle service to Milton.
I think for that kind of distance, a cab would be way beyond my budget. But the bus sounds okay. Can you tell me how much that would cost?
Sure. Let's see, that would be $15 one way, or $27.50 return. That's on the Greyhound.
Ah, that's quite cheap. Great. Well, whereabouts does it stop in Milton?
It goes directly from the airport here to the city center, and it's pretty fast. But you have to bear in mind that there is only one departure a day, so it depends what time your flight gets in.
Ah, of course. Hang on. We're due to get there at 11:30 a.m.
Too bad. The bus leaves at 3:45, so you would have quite a wait, more than 4 hours.
Oh, I see. Well, what about the shuttle you mentioned?
Okay, that's the airport shuttle that will take you from the airport right to your hotel or private address. It's a door-to-door service, and it would suit you much better because there's one every 2 hours.
So how much does that cost?
Let's see. Yeah, that's $35 one way, $65 return. So I guess it's a bit more expensive than the Greyhound.
Oh, that doesn't sound too bad. Especially if it'll take me straight to the hotel.
But you do need to reserve a seat.
Okay. Is it possible to make a booking right now? Through you?
Sure.
So there we go. That's the first section. As you see, it's a discussion about booking transport from the Toronto airport down to some place called Milton in Canada. Good practice, this one, because it's also a Canadian accents that are in use. It's just a little bit more experience of listening to different accents. So if you want to do that again, then go back to the beginning and try pronouncing it and try reading it. If not, then let's carry on and let's do the test. Before each section of the listening test, you are given time to look at the questions before the actual audio begins. First and foremost, be aware that this is a very important time for you for several reasons. But I'm going to start with a word of caution, because this is a part of the Ielts test where a lot of students go drastically wrong and can lead to them not achieving their overall band score. This is why students have not paid enough attention to the question before the audio begins. Yes, they read the questions. And sometimes that causes a problem in that some questions are not so obvious that before you actually listen to the audio. You have to try to understand the questions as much as possible by analysing the information you are given. You also need to understand that the answers to these questions are in order. What do I mean? Well, you will hear the answer to question 1 before you hear the answer to question 2, which will also be before the answer to question 3, and so on. Sometimes the answers come close together, and sometimes they have significant gaps in between them. So that is a problem number 1. Next, sometimes the answer can be given in a slightly different way than the question asks. Paraphrasing the question or the use of synonyms is quite common. What happens to many students is that they miss an answer, but not knowing they missed the answer, they're continuing to listen for it. Big problem. As they're listening, the audio is continuing, and other questions are getting asked and also missed. It's developed into a disaster. If you really look at the questions in depth before the start, hopefully you will identify all the answers. But if you miss one of them, hopefully also you will know the other questions and be alerted that you've missed one and you move on. Don't waste your time on the missed question. Keep concentrated on the rest of the test. Let us just try and analyze this group of 5 questions. Firstly, we are told it is about transport from the airport to Milton. Good information. Point 1. Next, we see it is about the options. Also, very relevant information. So we're looking at options. Now, looking at information, we can see that the car hire option is no good as they do not want to drive. So nothing asked, okay, we can forget that. So the next option is being ignored because it will be expensive. So what is that option? Is too expensive? That's the first question. The next option is the Greyhound bus. There are two questions here, so important aspects to find these answers. And the last option also has two questions, so there is something about this service, and we need to do something for this option. So before we hear the audio, we have to have an idea of what we are actually looking for. But be aware, and as I am sure you already know, that as the listening test progresses, it gets more and more difficult, and the point is to see if you can follow that progression. So let me tell you that this is the first of a series of integrated training for the Ielts test, integrated practice. And in the coming episodes coming up, which are going to come out every 2 or 3 days, then we'll be looking at these tests and how they get more progressively difficult as they continue. And we'll be covering how to attack or deal with these aspects. If you really want to get a high band score, then I think it would be very worthwhile to subscribe to this channel and follow this channel so you know when these videos come online and you will get prepared to take the Ielts test. That's it. So let's actually take a look at this test now and see how we get on with that.
Hello, this is land transport information at Toronto Airport. How may I help you?
Oh, good morning. I'm flying to Toronto Airport next week, and I need to get to a town called Milton. Could you tell me how I can get there?
Milton, did you say? Let me see. I think that's about 150 miles southwest of here. In fact, it's 147 miles to be exact. So it'll take you at least, say, 3 to 4 hours by road.
Wow, is it as far as that?
Yes, I'm afraid so. But you have a number of options to get you there, and you can always rent a car right here at the airport, of course.
Right. Well, I don't really want to drive myself, so I'd like more information about public transport.
Okay. In that case, the quickest and most comfortable is a cab, and of course there are always plenty available, but it'll cost you. You can also take a Greyhound bus, or there's an airport shuttle service to Milton.
I think for that kind of distance, a cab would be way beyond my budget. But the bus sounds okay. Can you tell me how much that would cost?
Sure. Let's see, that would be $15 one way, or $27.50 return. That's on the Greyhound.
Ah, that's quite cheap. Great. Well, whereabouts does it stop in Milton?
It goes directly from the airport here to the city center, and it's pretty fast. But you have to bear in mind that there is only one departure a day, so it depends what time your flight gets in.
Ah, of course. Hang on. We're due to get there at 11:30 a.m.
Too bad. The bus leaves at 3:45, so you would have quite a wait, more than 4 hours.
Oh, I see. Well, what about the shuttle you mentioned?
Okay, that's the airport shuttle that will take you from the airport right to your hotel or private address. It's a door-to-door service, and it would suit you much better because there's one every 2 hours.
So how much does that cost?
Let's see. Yeah, that's $35 one way, $65 return. So I guess it's a bit more expensive than the Greyhound.
Oh, that doesn't sound too bad. Especially if it'll take me straight to the hotel.
But you do need to reserve a seat.
Okay. Is it possible to make a booking right now? Through you?
Sure.
So there you go, the first part of a listening test, questions 1 to 5. I think you should have done that quite easily, actually. But the next one, we're moving on, it will be questions 6 to 10, and then that will progress from there onwards. So well done if you got that. Here's the answers for you now. Okay, the answers to this. Question 1, what was too expensive? And that was the cab option to take them down, because it was a lot of miles, about 150 miles. Okay, the Greyhound bus. We were looking for 2 questions here. Direct to the city centre. I'm sure you got that. And what was the problem with question 3? It was long something. There was to be a long wait because it was going to be 4 hours or something waiting at the airport before the next Greyhound bus left. On to the last aspect, the last 2 questions. This kind of service at the airport shuttle offer is a door-to-door service, and what you needed to do was you needed to reserve a seat. I'm sure you've all got that right. Well done. In the next video we'll be looking at questions number 6 to number 10. So if you're subscribed and you're following us, you will find that video out very, very soon. Well, there you are. You know, I've already got some daily tests, daily practice tests, exercises out at the moment. We've got a 5-minute talking exercise, and we've got a 10-minute speech exercise, all for daily use. The 10-minute one is answering some of the questions in the Ielts speaking test. Very, very valuable, and it's becoming very, very popular. Now here we have today's first one of this type, and it's only 15 minutes, you know, just over 15 minutes. A smudge over 15 minutes. Hey, and it's packed with good practice in vocabulary, pronunciation, grammar. It's got all these intrinsic parts to it. So 2 times or 3 times a week to do this test, to do this practice, I think is phenomenal. So up to you, but I'm looking forward to producing these tests and getting feedback from you, the IELTS test takers. If you're finding it good or not, please tell me in the comments, and I'll see you in the next one very soon. Bye for now.